Well, a warm welcome back to People's Imbizo. This is the second segment. If you have just joined us, well, you haven't missed it all. We're talking about youth participation in politics. Is there apathy, and what challenges are they facing as they try to also get involved and be responsible citizens of the country to make sure that whatever policies are formed, they also have a say? Before the break, we spoke about youth apathy and what problems they could be having when it comes to formal structures of politics and why they resort to perhaps civic organizations and social movements that we have been seeing that have been led by the youth. Now, in this part of the program, we want to talk about the youth demographics, the sex, the gender, the race, and how it affects how they shape their minds when it comes to politics and what political party they get affiliated to and what decisions they make going forward. Mr. Ndo, I'll come back to you. It appears that, well, actually the facts, the statistics show that there was more suburban youth that came out to vote in the last local government elections than the youth from the townships. What is your assessment of that?
Well, I think one other aspect that we need to look at, number one, is that we've got a very mobile youth in South Africa. They always move from one place to the other, and you would know that there is voter registration, and that then affects the voting patterns. But another aspect as well is that, as it was indicated, is that certain political parties have disappointed individuals, especially when it comes to the nomination process. Some people that were put there, certain members of society did not have trust in them. They participated in the nomination, but in the final analysis, certain leaders were imposed on them. And that created a situation where some decided to say, we are not going to vote. But another area I think that we also need to look at is the male-female voter setup, because you'll then realize that you have got certain patterns that actually happens. Males will actually be the ones who go and vote, and females not voting. And that is actually influenced by a number of factors. It's influenced by culture, it's influenced by religion, it's also influenced by social standings. And that is where political parties, for me, has to come in and ensure that women in particular should also be seen playing a role in political activities. Remember, we talk about women empowerment and also talking about equality. Now there's a talk of having a female leader. We need to have leaders who are participating in political activities. You don't start by becoming a leader. You start by being active, an active participant in political activities. And that is one message that needs to go to females. In student leadership at TUT, we've got more males participating in student leadership. Hence, we only have a boys' choir seated here. Very few females are not participating, and that is one area of concern that political parties have to look into.
Right. I want to go back to the audience and talk about, you know, when it comes to geographical location of the youths. Why do you think we had, you know, more youths from the suburbs than Ekasi coming out to vote, particularly in the last local government elections? I don't know what discussions you have, you know, back when you go back home, and as the youths in the streets, what you talk about, what influenced your mind, and why we saw this particular pattern happen in the last elections. Anyone?
From my understanding, I think the youth from the location has lost power and confidence from the current administration. In the suburbs, what happens there is that they are more catered than us who are in the locations. They get the services, all the necessary services they deserve and they want. For an example, the streets there are cleaned. Everything is done properly and thoroughly. The dustbins are being picked. In the location, you will find no dust picked for probably 2 weeks. So meaning the government doesn't concentrate more on us in the locations. They concentrate on people who are vocal and people who know the policy. Those people, if you do not do something, they will challenge you through the policy. In the location, you find people who are illiterate and lazy, who are, would say, politically lazy to challenge things. So that's why we are not being catered for, we are not being looked after, and then we therefore lose power. We don't see the reason to vote. It's a waste of a vote if I'm not going to gain the benefits of my vote.
The answer to this question is very simple. So when you look at segregation, the reason many people from suburb come to vote is because segregation is divided by lifestyle. Those people are the people who live an adequate life. Their lifestyle, they don't stress from poverty, unemployment, and etc. So the people who are affected much are the people who've come from deep rural area and township, not suburbs, not suburb. So the government's supposed to win the people who come from the rural area, because those are the same people who are suffering in issues in social issues that is affecting the youth. The likes of ourselves, people from the suburb, for an example, they can afford to pay fees, they can afford even to get employment, they have inheritance and etc. Than people who come from the village, they have nothing. So that is the causes. It's one of those the reason that causes people from suburb to come and vote than people who come from deep rural area. I thank you.
The reason why children from the location do not vote is because the people that we're voting for start where we live. They come from the locations, and once we have voted for them, once they've went up, they no longer look at what we need. They no longer cater for us, the people that were in the election. So the problem is that we are no longer being heard, and they do not check our needs as they did in the beginning. So as young people, it is hard for us to trust people that that do not become honest when they get to the top. For them to be able to help us, they have to start at the bottom, because now when they are up, they no longer check the base, but they're only focusing on what is seen in the world and not what is done there. So they need to start at the bottom.
Right, interesting sentiments coming from the young people here at Tshwane University of Technology, saying the youth EKASI will not be interested in voting because they have been speaking for a long time, but the policies that are made do not benefit them. So you see the youth that are in the suburbs will go out and vote because the policies that are made eventually are the ones that benefit them, saying that also there is perhaps a political illiteracy, and they need more information, they need more content out there to inform them of what they need to do to be responsible citizens of this country. I want to hear if this is a fair assessment from my panel. I'll start with you, Gima. Do you think, can you analyze what we've heard from the audience?
Yeah, we have to understand one thing, that the low turn-up of youth voters is because the South African youth is disappointed. And we need to understand that the youth that is disappointed is not the youth from the suburb, it's the youth from the township. It's the youth that needs free education from the township. You look even inside the campus. When you find a young person who studies in this campus and then you speak of free education, he doesn't understand you. He doesn't understand. And then when you're protesting for free education, protesting for fees, the youth from the suburb, they'll just say, no, you're consuming our time, we just want to learn. So for them, everything is perfect. But for us, youth from the township, from the rural areas, everything is just so wrong. And we have been crying for many years, and then nothing has happened. But for the youth in the suburb, everything is still normal. So it's not necessarily that they have turned up, there have been a huge turn up from the suburb. It's just that the youth from the township did not go to vote.
Right. Now let's talk about the issue of gender representation when it comes to leadership in politics, and how, of course, it stems from the ground level, from universities. Even if you see my panel, like Mr. Ndou said earlier, we just have men here. We don't see any female representation of leadership, even here at Tshwane University of Technology. And I know that it's not because of a lack of ability, but perhaps the apathy that we've been talking about. We look at the different political parties that are represented in Parliament. 13 of them, only one political party is led by a female. I think that's the NFP. Out of the 13 political parties, we look at the leading political parties, ANC, the Democratic Alliance, Economic Freedom Fighters. When you look at their top 6, only 2 females are represented in their top 6. Why do you think this is happening, Mr. Ndou? As you look at the students, at this level, why do you think there's this, I don't want to say apathy, I don't know if it's apathy. What is it that we're not seeing female leadership that is coming up?
There are a number of issues that influences females' lack of participation in politics. It has got a very long history. It's influenced by religion, it's influenced by culture, it's influenced by social standing in society. You would know what the church says about males and females. You know what culture dictates in relation to males and females. You know our social standings, how we relate to one another, males and females. And that is something that has to be broken. And you know, South Africa is more advanced in relation to equality amongst males and females, and also the programs that have to empower women. Unfortunately, the pace in which you're moving is actually very, very slow. The ANC in 2017 adopted the 50-50 principle
Yes.
in terms of leadership.
Yes.
And that is where you would then need women to go out and say, let's support this program and let's give the best women that we have, so that in terms of delivery, they should also be able to match that. And also, the attitude that certain males have on women is quite disturbing, because we still have men who don't want to take or who don't want to recognize females as leaders, and that is one of the problems. It is influenced by the three aspects that I've mentioned, and we need the church to start saying that there is potential in women, preach the message in the church that says there is potential in women, and we must then be able to support these women. We need parents at home who must be able to encourage their female children to say, you can do what other males are doing. That in that we can then be able to make a huge difference in South Africa.
Fumzani, what do you think females are being stifled on their way up to leadership, or I mean, what kind of conversations do you have with perhaps your fellow colleagues, female ones, when it comes to leadership? What is their take? What do they say?
Okay, thank you. I think on that one we do have leaders of females who have got potentials to lead, but sometimes it goes back to what Mr. Ndo was saying about what impact do religion has on leadership and everything. Because sometimes you might find that within comrades, all of us that were within a certain organization, believe that we believe in certain women to lead us, but you find that the majority within that organization doesn't want to be led by a woman, and then it's going to be very difficult for you to convince the majority, and then others are saying, no, we don't want to be led by a woman. And then now it's going to be very difficult for you, because also you want the organization to move forward, and then at the end of the day, you must do what the majority says in order to move forward also.
Yeah, Katlego, your thoughts on female leadership coming from, obviously, university level? Do you see quite a bit of that?
Yeah, I would like to agree with the utterances of Ms. Ndo that religion and culture plays a very important role in the isolation of women in leadership. One other thing that I think should be raised is that I think we are all agreeing now that women must lead, but we should also concentrate on capacity building. We should not just say she's a woman, she must lead.
Yeah.
No, we must first screen her credentials, ensure that she has got adequate skills to take us forward. So I think that will be the solution.
Very interesting. We shouldn't just have, females in top positions just because we want to bridge that gap of disparity. We should make sure that, they're fit for the job, they're capacitated. Let's have a female. Let's hear from the horse's mouth. What is happening with female leadership? Okay, she's ready to give us.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to say there's an extreme necessity for student organization and political organizations in South Africa to declare a stand on whether they are supporting women in leadership or not, because they've got to face the truth. If there is no woman, there will never be any revolution. So as women, we are available 24 hours to smash the patriarchy. Even when women are being dismissed from whatever position they have occupied, there is no decency in explaining what exactly happened. What is the main reason that you are being dismissed? So, as the panelists there, we are having a leader from Sadesmo, from BLF and SASCO, and during this month, we'll be having SRC elections. They have got to declare a stand right now, live on air, on whether they do support women in leadership or not. And I'd like to have a question posed to the leader of Sadesmo, Mr. David Funzani. Would you maybe look at at the scenario which happened on campus, because you know that we had a female president and she was dismissed, and we would like to know what is your take on that, because she was female, there was no decency in her of that leadership to explain to her why is she being dismissed. And are you saying that you are in support of patriarchy or whatsoever? That is the question that Mr. Funzani, I'd like you to ask to answer for me.
Thank you very much. We'll be coming to Mr. Fumzani to respond to that question. We'll give him a few seconds to stew on it, and hopefully he'll give us a satisfactory answer. Let's get another comment or a question from the audience.
My comment is that I think the question on its own is patriarchal. We should always fight for a women leadership. But my question is one also. Who having an authority to empower a woman? I think we were missing a point when we think that we made people, we should empower women. That is wrong. Women themselves should make sure that they empower themselves. Women, they should make sure that they don't see themselves inferior. We are all human beings at the end of the day. Whatever struggle that we're facing, male and women, is the same. So when we start to say now women in our society should be treated special, it is wrong.
Okay. Thank you so much for that comment. Very interesting comments coming from the audience saying women should not ask for permission to be empowered. In fact, they shouldn't ask to be empowered at all, because then that counters the argument that they're already powerful, they're already capacitated to take any position in leadership. They should just stand up and represent themselves accordingly. We'll take one more question from the audience, then we'll come back to the panel.
No, it's not a question, it's a comment. Chair lady, you know, the problem sometimes about women, in certain cases, they involve feelings and the leadership. You see, this is the very same thing which is practically happening right now. The former president of the Republic of Soshanguve stood up and said that the one of the female leaders was the president, and she was dismissed. There are certain reasons that she was dismissed. Her dismissal was based on a certain reasons. That thing shall not be conducted or spoken in the public. She should go straight to the leader of the SADESMO and ask whatever that she wishes to ask. That is why it becomes a predicament when the female leader has to lead, because always the feelings are attached into business. I'm not being biased. Please don't take it badly. But now we do want to see the woman lady. But when she can attach feelings and the business, it's totally going to be a contradiction.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Advocating for leaders with no feelings. We don't know if that's a very good idea, but anyway, let's get a comment from a female.
In my opinion, or I'm gonna speak on behalf of women, I feel like in structures, all structures, whether it's SADESMO or IFP or PASMA, the capacity of women being in power is being undermined. And they're not giving a platform to showcase that they are capable of leading. Let's take an in case of the president being recalled before finishing her term. You don't give a person why she's being recalled. Normally there's a panel and a procedure that must be followed in order for you before you recall someone. In doing so, meaning that you must give a person a fair trial for a second chance in his leadership or her own leadership. Now, when you are saying that women are being emotionally attached, I don't understand why would you raise a point like that, because you are not in the shoes of that person at that time. I feel like this leader is being emotionally provoked, or he's trying to push his own agendas. I'm not sure what's going on. I think that the MC must paraphrase maybe the real reason why are we here. We are discussing issues that affect us as young people, whether it's politically, whether it's academically, whether it's gender issues, whether it's health issues.
I think the problem is how we were raised. The way we ladies were raised is how these guys take us. The reason why he started by saying we are emotionally attached is the reason why our parents have raised us in a way that when a little girl falls, they all come and they pick her up. But when a guy falls, they're like, no, leave him, he'll be okay. This is the same reasons why guys disrespect us. Why the reason why he feels that we are emotionally attached is because that they are afraid of the changes that we as women bring. If we were able to elect a female president in the campus, we should also be told why she is dismissed. We elected her in public. Why should we not be told why she's being dismissed in public? Why should they tell her in secret why she's being dismissed? That is the reason why they are starting to disrespect us, because they do not value the changes that we as women bring.
Tell me something. I'm curious to hear from the females here. When you say you're not being given a platform, why are you waiting to be given a platform? Do you feel you need permission to be given a platform? I don't understand how that process works.
The reason why we're saying we needed to be given a platform is because all our rights have been stepped over. We are not being given the opportunity to speak. As she was speaking now, he made a point where he said women are bringing their feelings first. The reason why we bring our feelings first is because we are emotional beings. That is why we are labeled as women. That is part of being a woman. So the reason why we are saying that we need to be given an opportunity, it's because we are not heard. As women, we are not heard. That is why they feel that once we get married, we overlook our responsibilities and start looking at the fact that we have children and we have to raise them. But if we went out of that, we removed that thought of being women and just being treated as human, I think that would be better.
Right. So the issues of patriarchy are coming out when it comes to the audience and the youth that we have. It appears it's starting from, right at the bottom at universities, when they're still trying to groom themselves to become leaders of tomorrow, or just to participate in issues that affect them in life, the policies and how they are formed as females. They feel they're being stifled, they're not being heard. They're saying we're not asking for permission, but we want to be heard when we speak. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we'll get final comments from our panel as we round up this conversation of youths and politics. We talked about gender, sex, race, all of that, and you're at home. I hope you have been participating on our Twitter handle at ANN7TV. Katlego, final remarks. Just a summary of everything that we've discussed.
Okay. Yeah, thanks once again. I think we have discussed the problems that the youth are facing. And we think that we are sure that there are some government officials who are actually watching this imbizo, and they will take actions towards eradicating the socio-economic factors that we've raised. But one thing that I think should be raised is that when there is a problem, we must not attach gender connotations to that problem. If we are dealing with unemployment, let us deal with unemployment. If we are dealing with violence, we must not attach a certain gender connotation to it. Let us deal with violence generally.
But Katlego, that's not a fair statement. I'm sorry to say. There has been issues of gender disparity that need to be addressed. I think what you're saying is the same as saying that we can't have things like BEE when it comes to unemployment. Let's just talk about unemployment. Yet we know that black people have been disenfranchised in the past.
Yes. But it's 24 years. That's why some of us are against the initiative of BEE now. It's been 24 years that black people have been given an opportunity to empower themselves. Same applies to women. Right now we've got men who are subjected to physical abuse on a daily basis, but none of us are taking them serious. Even the police, when a man goes to a police station to report an abuse by a woman, police laugh at that man. So the reason why I'm saying we should approach these things generally is precisely because we've got some people who are biased towards certain things.
But they don't happen generally, the issues that people are raising. When it comes to gender violence, rightfully so, there are men that are also abused by women. But it's up to the men to come up also and say, this is what's happening to us as the youth. It's your role to participate in those, policy frameworks to make sure that men are also recognized in their appeal to say we're being abused, we need help. Just like women are also raising up. It is Women's Month. And women have made a point to say this is going to be our month. We're going to be talking about issues of abuse, all the other issues that affect us and all the good things. And this is what we stand for.
You see, it's not the first time that an SRC member is recalled into social move. But now, just because it is a woman that has been recalled, now it is a big issue. But when it was a man, we've got a lot of people that have been recalled in the history of Tutu Soshanguve, but it was never an issue. But now, just because he's a man, it's a big issue. So that, I think, on itself is a problem. Right. Because we are the ones, I'm an SRC member, by the way. I served with the president that people are talking about. There are a lot of things that happened, but we cannot discuss them publicly.
Yeah.
So
and those are issues we hope that you'll be able to resolve with your SRC and come to some kind of a conclusion. I think the whole issue of them, us, them men, we female, there isn't that unity, and I think that's why we have all these problems that we have now. But just thank you, Katlego, for your final remarks. I appreciate it. Grima, final comments?
I think on the issue of youth and politics in South Africa, it is important that the politicians understand the revolutions of the youth of today, because we as the youth of today have defined our own revolution. It's for them to understand it and support us and also include us in policy making in order to make South Africa the way we want it to be.
Right, thank you.
And also this issue of women, I think women should not wait for men to open opportunities for them. Women should create opportunities for them. I mean, Lillian Goyi, Richard Mahaban, they led successfully, they were women. So, but women of today are expecting men to give them positions. We say, no, we open an opportunity. In the top 6, we should have 2 women, whether they are capable or not. I think women should pave their way like we did during apartheid. I mean, we did not wait for white people to open an opportunity for us to fight for our democracy. We just created that space. Right. So I think women should stop feeling sorry for themselves and wake up. And if they are capable enough, this is a democratic country. Even in the institution, it is a democratic institution. If they are capable enough, I'm definitely sure they will lead.
Absolutely. Great comments there coming from Grima. From Zani, your remarks?
Before I can give my remarks, I would like to answer the question which was posed to me, personally straight. You remember when I was giving the issue about gender and everything, I said that within a same organization, you might find that others want the woman to lead, but you find that the majority of the people don't want that woman to lead. And then by that, those people who are the majority are the ones who are driving the organization to move forward. Because sometimes you cannot sacrifice the majority of the organization just for one individual. At the end of the day, it means that if we say that we're going to sacrifice the majority for one individual, well, what is going to happen? Because we are having problems internally.
Right, and those will be solved internally. Thank you for raising it up. But just from all the issues that we've discussed today with youth and politics, all the important topics that we've touched on, just very quickly summarize your final remarks.
Okay, on that one, I think what we have discussed here today, I think there were very, very much important issues, and then I think each and every government official who's going to be listening, will see that these are the issues which they discuss daily within their strategic planning in order to deal with, to balance between the whites and the black people in order to bridge the gap which is happening currently, to make sure that we'll be in the same level, all of us, as the people of South Africa. And then this is what we as the black people we are fighting for, to make sure that we bridge this gap. We also have the same benefits that the white people are enjoying in our country.
All right, Mr. Ndo, we'll give you the pleasure of the final remarks.
Well, there is potential in young people. And I think it's upon those that are older to give sufficient chance to young people in order for them to make a difference. And political parties themselves must invest a lot in ensuring that the young people that are there don't go astray, they get sufficient political education so that they must take over and lead South Africa in the near future.
Thank you so very much. And of course, you at home for being a part of the conversation. A special thank you to Tshwane University of Technology and the young students that came to join us today. My panel, we had Katlego Makyobola from South African Students Congress. Grima Sibia was joining us as well from the Black First Land First Students Movement. And we also have from Zani David from Sadesmo. Mr. Levundo also on the panel. He's a politics lecturer here at Tshwane University of Technology. He's also a political analyst. I'm sure you've seen him quite a number of times on ANN7. Thank you so much for watching the program. This has been People's Imbizo. Thank you and goodbye.